Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the Garage Driveway Project 60 series. It's Sunday afternoon and I thought I'd get out here and do a little bit of work on the 60. It's right here. So right now I'm trying to accomplish three things. One obviously is to get everything running. Now I started it once with starting fluid. I think I showed you guys that video. I started it a second time. I might have a little video for that. On the edge of the fender up on a ladder, I had a little temporary fuel tank and I ran it right down through the fuel filter to the mechanical fuel pump and then up to the carburetor. Because I haven't examined the lines going back to the tank and I really haven't checked that tank of if there's rust or anything in it. So I definitely didn't want to put fuel in the tank. And I got it running and it was actually running. I had it idling for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, just sitting there on its own. And then I went in and shut it off. You know, the goal was to kind of listen to the engine and see how that was going. But I did notice that the radiator was completely cold and the engine was hot. And then I didn't really see any fluid here. So there's a lot of things I need to do before I try and really run this thing and see where we're at. So obviously the main thing is to get everything running. But I'm working with two things right now. One is, where I live, there's no emissions control, so a lot of people do what they call a de-smog on these things. It's got an air pump that runs, it's below the power steering pump. It's a big fat thing. Pulled that out. When I bought it, the previous owner said that it was de-smogged already, but everything was still there. There was a couple of broken vacuum lines. There were some that were plugged off, but the pump was deveined. The air pump was deveined. So he told me it was de-smogged already. But when you really de-smog these, there's a ton of stuff that you got to do. And I'll point out a couple things as an example. One, right here in this area was all of these, you know, valves, BSV, VSC, CBAD, just come up with whatever letter you want. And it was right here. I have it in the garage. So I disconnected all the vacuum lines. There goes one. And I got rid of this. And the big spaghetti mess of metal vacuum lines that went to all this stuff, I pulled that off. There's another vacuum line. The other thing you got to do is you got to pull off this air rail here, which actually is part of the air injection. You pull that off and then you plug it, and I've got little plugs for it. I also have to plug off these two here on the thermostat housing. I got a new thermostat for it. I was trying to think ahead. If I got to pull apart the thermostat housing, or if I'm, you know, draining that down to plug it, I might as well put in a new thermostat. The EGR valve, which is underneath the carburetor, goes down to an EGR cooler down there, probably impossible to see, then goes back to the back. So it blocks off there and it blocks off here, and I remove all of that. This here goes to the exhaust. This rubber hose goes to metal, goes down to the exhaust. I've got to cut that at the metal and weld in the exhaust. So there's a lot of things I have to do as far as the de-smog goes to finish it. But it's going to be good after that. And here's the reason why. A lot of people de-smog it and run their carburetor, but you still need certain things on that carburetor as far as vacuum lines go. There's a ton. I've never seen so many vacuum lines in my life, but there's a ton of vacuum lines. But what I've decided to do is to go with throttle body fuel injection, which if you're not familiar with what that means, it basically looks like a carburetor. But instead of, you know, jets and mechanical secondaries and all this, it's electronically controlled fuel injection. Now I've got to add a O2 sensor that it comes with, a Bosch O2 sensor to the exhaust. I also add a temperature probe to, I believe, to the coolant. And there's a place you can do it on the block. Some people said they did it right here on the thermostat housing. So we'll see how that works out. So I'm doing two things, de-smogging and putting fuel injection on. What does that mean? It means I should be able to rip all of this stuff out with the exception of, like, I think there's a line that goes from the fuel injector to the distributor for the vacuum advance and something else. So what I'm working on and what I've been working on, you can see I've got the power steering pump is just laying here. Underneath it was the air pump. Over there was the alternator. So alternator's off, power steering pump is loose. This hoses and stuff need to be replaced. I got all new belts for it. But I've got to take off. I'm trying to take off everything I can that's going to be coming off. So when I'm either plugging it or putting a cap on it, a gasket and a cover plate, whatever it is, I'm also going to be removing the mechanical fuel pump here. And I'm going to run an electric fuel pump because its fuel injection needs higher pressures. It's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not. I'm going to show you what some of the stuff looks like back here. In the garage here, what I've got, that will replace the air pump. So it's basically just, look, the reason why they do this, you put this pulley there, is so you still use factory belts. That way, if you ever throw a belt, you can actually get the factory belts. You don't need to come up with some random short number that maybe is not as accessible. So this thing goes on in place of the big air pump. EGR block off plates. This is the one at the exhaust. This is the one at the intake with the good Toyota EGR gaskets. These are to pull off that air rail and plug all 6 of those holes. I believe these two, I think these two might be for the thermostat. I don't know where this little guy goes. This one, thermostat, power steering hose from Napa. The only place I could find an alternator was from Napa. So, refurbished alternator. Here's the one I pulled out. I don't think that one's factory anyway. I don't think that one's a Denso or Toyota or whatever. And it's not working. The alternator was not, when I was running it, it was not recharging. So I've got alternator, the power steering. I'm hoping that there's a power steering leak. And the hard lines, the high pressure lines, they all look good. The low pressure line is hard as a rock. It's cracked. But I didn't see where it was leaking from because it's almost impossible for me to find a power steering pump. It's almost like everybody's converting it to something else now because they're not available. So I've got that kit. And then as far as the fuel injection stuff goes, this is like I got a throttle. Here's the pump. In here I've got all kinds of little knickknacks and everything. This will be an adapter to run from the Holley Sniper fuel injection to the factory air cleaner. And this all came in a kit from a company called Mosley Motors. These guys apparently, they work on the 60 engines, they rebuild engines, do high performance engines, and they've done so many of these fuel injection conversions now that they put together a kit that even includes like this is a hard line. So this is just like the factory hard line. What this does is it comes from the passenger side low on the block up and around the front. It comes around the front of the valve cover and then comes back to the carburetor. So they've bent one like that to go for the fuel injection. So it's just stuff like that. It's like what they said was, look, we've done this so many times that these are the pieces that we use for our high performance engines. So I thought, I looked at the price and it's not like you're paying a lot more for all the legwork that they did. And you're going to get all the parts and pieces that you need to make the fuel injection work, like the different linkages, the low car throttle cable. It comes with like 15 feet of hose. So when you're redoing the pump, you do all new hoses. You can reuse some of the factory hard lines if they're still in good shape. And it comes with all the AN fittings, everything you need. And then this stuff was from another company in Las Vegas called Manafray. They just had some stuff in a nice little kit. So I got that stuff together, but what I need to do now is to get a little dirty. Oh, by the way, So I did the old engine degreaser thing. Now, I haven't done that since I was a kid, because the vehicles I had when I was younger, they were all filthy, and I was always trying to clean the engine bay. So I sprayed this down with like level 2. I use gunk, the gunk one. So gunk foam is like their lightest level. The middle level is what I use. Then there's the gel, which is the extreme, which could eat paint and stuff. So I didn't want to go that far, but it didn't do anything. It just made a mess. I had to cover a bunch of stuff like the coil, the carburetor, the distributor, some of these ports that are open where water could have just made their way through, like vacuum ports and stuff. So I covered a lot of stuff with Ziploc bags and zip ties. And yeah, it didn't take anything off. It just was a mess. So I left the hood open, let the sun beat down on it. I hit it with the outlet of the shop vac, because it acts kind of like a blower. I just blew all the standing water out. Then I went over with some WD-40. If you didn't know, that's called water displacer formula 40. So I hit it with WD-40, and that's where I'm at right now. I need to tear off everything that I can and start plugging holes and doing all that. Then I can start reassembling. The last thing I'll do, obviously, would be to put the fuel injection throttle body on there. But I think I'm gonna have some more space, seeing that I'm taking this whole air rail out here. So there'll be more space here, and I'll have to see what's going on. And then this will be off, and the EGR underneath will be off. This one's got air conditioning. So not all of these had air conditioning. This is a unit with power steering, air conditioning. I'm not going to show you guys me getting in there. It's dark in there. It's dirty. And it's Sunday afternoon. Actually, it's probably about 2-3 o'clock. And they talk about there might be some rain coming in, which I always like rain. I'm good with rain. But man, I got a mess in my garage. I got all the old seats from the 80 up here. This is all the guts to the 60. Like the panels, all this stuff. There's a lot of work on this one. I think it'll be good though. I'm doing all the engine stuff, getting it running first before I even contemplate how much time, effort, and money I'll spend on. Really windy. How much time, effort, and money I'll spend on the inside, because you can spend a little or you can spend a lot getting the inside all fixed up. But for now, that's it. I'm just letting you guys know I'm working on the 60 project. I'll be back. I'll make a good video when I get some stuff on, and if people are interested, I can walk through what I did. But this is pretty basic. It's just labor intensive. This is about as old as I want to go. You know, I like working on the 80, but the 80 engine is like, even though when I got it, it had oil leaks and everything, they just dripped down. They didn't get all over the engine bay. This thing's a mess. It sat in a field for 10 years with, dirt field, dust blowing up in there, rain, snow, whatever oil was already on there. It's a mess in there. And I don't know. I'm not one of those guys that I can just work on messy things, just like put new stuff on when everything around it is filthy. I have a tendency to want to clean, and it's not working very good on this one. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that quick little update on the 60 project. I will be returning with some 60 videos, but for today, this weekend, I really didn't get out and do stuff. I did a lot of stuff around. I did put in an ARB compressor in the 80. Yeah, there was this neat little spot up by the brake booster. It's just hidden away in there, so that's pretty cool. That's going to do it for me today, you guys. Thanks for watching.